Welcome to the Make and Design podcast. I'm Carina Gardner, and today I really want to talk to you about an experience I had just yesterday. So I'm taping this a little bit in advance, but I had a fascinating experience with a plumber. So the barn has gone through a ton of updates. We went through a contractor who then ghosted us. We got another contractor who just basically did finishing. A little bit of a language barrier with me because had I known what I known, I probably wouldn't have hired him. But he did a great job. He just didn't know how to do all the things that I really needed to have done. So that led me to doing the building inspection myself, which then led me to hiring this plumber to just do a couple of small things. So a tiny project ended up turning into a full day project. And I was really fascinated by my communication with this plumber. So I didn't reschedule my day. I had meetings all day. I had videos to make, and I just moved myself into the regular house. But this plumber knew that I had all these things going on. And of course, he needs to ask me questions throughout the day to make sure that they're on track. And I was happy to do that. I would stop and go take care of things. But about mid-morning, he came in to the house and he starts telling me my options for an issue that he had found. But it was really fascinating because the way I just said it right there made it sound like this lovely, logical, like, here are your three options, which is typically what I get when, someone's constructing the house or, I'm in a meeting. People are like, well, these are the options we have, right? This was not that. I mean, essentially that's what he did, but he did it in the most interesting way. And I'm going to tell you right now, it was not a good way. So he was very clearly frustrated with our first contractor who wasn't a plumber and did all kinds of things wrong. And he came in just frustrated and mad and couldn't believe and XYZ. Now, you can only imagine on my side of things. I'm clearly not the contractor who did it. I'm also the client who is paying a lot of money for him to fix all the problems with the first contractor, right? Like, he wouldn't even be here if it weren't for the problems of the first contractor. Like, I will tell you, the total was not what I thought it was going to be. It was substantially higher. And so he came in and he was kind of pacing around. I was in the kitchen and he was just pacing around. I mean, completely and totally unprofessional. And it was really interesting because I was like, there's one of three things going on here because my logical brain couldn't help but analyze and break it down. The first one was that he was someone who was a perfectionist. So he liked things a certain way. He knew his craft clearly very, very well. And he was he really, really wanted it done well. And he was really angry and frustrated with what was going on. Okay, so that was the first one. The second one was that he was the most amazing con artist ever. And he was putting on a show for me so that I would have to pay more money, right? So those are the first two. And now I'm blanking on what I thought the third one was. The third one was that he just literally has trouble controlling his emotions. That he's maybe like someone who just throws temper tantrums, typically, and doesn't realize like he's throwing a temper tantrum for a total stranger on a professional job work site. Okay, so those are the three things going through my head because I was just like, what the heck is happening? This guy is pacing. He's trying to tell me all the things that this contractor did wrong, which I think he was trying to educate me a little bit on what he had done wrong. I don't care what the contractor did wrong. You guys know this. If you've been in this situation, you know you do not care. You just want the thing fixed. I am never going to learn how to be a plumber. I'm never going to do it, right? And I only need to know enough to make sure that my shed gets winterized and it'll be fine and I can, pull levers and stuff before winter comes. I don't need to know everything from the bottom up. That's not my job. That's his job. And so I found myself in such a weird situation because I didn't know how to respond, because I didn't know if he was just a perfectionist, he was a con artist, or he just really had an emotional display. Anyway, he could not stop, you guys. And I really value my time more than just about anything. And so finally I got to the point, because he had been ranting for quite a long time. I said, hey, I am right here in the middle of this. Why don't I finish this, and I will come to the barn in a little bit, and you can tell me, more about what you see going on, and if you do need to cut that line, X, Y, and Z. Okay. So he got the hint. He left. He went back out to work. And about an hour later, when I felt like he maybe had calmed down, I went back out there and I said, hey, I am super happy for you to show me anything that you want to tell me what's going on. And so by that point, he had calmed down. And I think he also recognized that I wasn't, just hanging out in my house, having fun, that I was actually working, and that he was cutting into my work day as well, and kind of showed me a couple of things, was actually really reasonable. And, we moved on from there, and he finished by the end of the day with his apprentice. And I learned a couple of interesting things about this, and it just was a good reminder about a couple of things. And the biggest one was how you show up matters, because it was very clear he was very, very knowledgeable. He clearly knew his stuff, but the way he showed up was so disconcerting for me. Like I had so many struggles with it that I found myself actually like literally telling myself, we will never hire this plumber again for our family. Like I was like, it doesn't matter how good you are at a job. If you show up in this way, it does not matter. Like you are a toxic or emotional human being that can't be professional on a work site. Like I just can't ever hire you again. I don't care how good you are at your job. And it made me think of the number of times where designers or people have come to me and said, oh yeah, I had this freelance job. It was going well. I did it. And then they didn't hire me again. I don't know why. And I always wonder, especially the ones where I know they tend to be a little more volatile, maybe less professional. I always wonder if they know what they're bringing with them. If their level of professionality is what they think it actually is, if they are showing up in a way that makes the client want to hang out with them. So let me say this. Sometimes a client, you're very professional and there's like nothing crazy, but like also you don't bring energy, you don't bring empathy, you don't bring like excitement to a project, because as designers, we really actually do have those things. Like we have to be excited about the artwork that we're bringing to the table. We have to be really like knowledgeable about how we do it. And one of the things that I sometimes see as designers are very straight-faced, and maybe they're not crazy and emotional. They're not like, someone doesn't want to work with you. You're not fun enough to work with. And so the way you show up, you're like, well, Carina, you just said professional. Yeah, professional for a designer is different than professional for a plumber, guys. Totally different thing, right? Like your client as a designer, they might be stressed out, but also like what you're doing for them is actually the fun, interesting part of like their business, for you at least. And for them, they just want to get it done. So you being super over the top educational about it, you want to tell them exactly why you did stuff, but like being over the top about it and being what I call like know-it-all knowledgeable is not helpful. Okay. You just want them to understand how they did it. You also want to be excited about your work. Don't be hesitant. Don't have any like the doubting designer. Okay, let's move on to that, because this is a good segue. The doubting designer, and what I'm really talking about here is bring confidence to your work. Okay, So especially as a designer, you're going to come in and be like, hey, look at this wonderful work I did. I'm super excited about it. I think it's going to really elevate your brand. Okay. That's the right language to use for that. If they're not excited about it, you can be like, well, I would love to do revisions because maybe I didn't understand the entire project memo or brief. And so I'm not understanding exactly what you want, and I'm happy to fix it, right? That's professional. But like coming into it, being very confident in your work, the work is good. If you just don't understand exactly what their brief is or how they want things, then that's totally different, right? So don't doubt your work. You know, they might want something different, and it's okay for them to want something different. It just means that you need to work more closely with them till you can get it correct with them. And when you're starting some work for a client, freelance, manufacturer, anything else, you probably will have to spend a little more time with them than you typically will in 5 years from now when working with clients, because you just don't have the communication know-how to get it right yet. It's going to take a hot second for you to get there. So don't be a doubter of your own work, and try to be professional but excited about the work. I mean, that is really the key here. So end of the day with that plumber, he gives me the bill. And based on the bill, maybe he was a con artist, but I really don't think he was. I just think he didn't know how to work with clients. There were a couple of other things he said throughout the day that made me kind of doubt his ability as a business person, but also really respect him as a plumber. And so it was an interesting day. I felt I had already felt a little displaced because I've been working in the barn now for several months. All my stuff was in the barn, and I had to move a good portion of it into the house and work from my old office, which has only bookcases in it. And so I had to move things around and bring in some equipment, and it felt a little bit, little bit crazy. Nothing super crazy, but just a little frustrating. I couldn't go as fast as I usually like to go in a day. So I would say every interaction you have, as an individual or as a business owner, it matters. The way we show up, it really matters. You've heard the saying, bring the weather with you. So if you show up and you are down and you are depressed, guess what the people around you do? They become down and depressed, right? If you show up and you are happy and you're excited and you have energy, the people around you want some of that energy and they find themselves uplifted. If you go into a room and you are empathetic and you are caring, then people feel that and they want to be vulnerable with you. It is amazing how really reading a room matters. And I find that a lot of people don't know how to read a room. And not only that, but don't let everybody else affect the way you are going to do things. That's the second thing I would say. Be okay with being who you are, authentically who you are, but also bringing that energy, that specialness that you have to the room to make it good for the people who are interacting with you. And then as always, you guys, professionality, it's rough. I'm going to say that. Sometimes it's rough because you just want to vent. You just cannot believe what people do. It is amazing, you guys. The number of things I run into that I'm like, wow, I didn't even know that could be a thing. But if you can bring a level of professionality, people will respect you for that. Want to hang out more? Go to designsuitecourses.com/free to get our weekly freebies and patterns, die cut files, and more. Can't wait to see you there.